Okay, so I think you guys can see how this is sort of this and the line thing are really the basis of figuring out or image making, correct? And then we'll add, as we get into a project, we'll start adding tools into this as we're working. Okay. This is Josh, right?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I couldn't figure out how to do. I know the image is like really blurry on the left.
Yeah,
The he has like horns, and
yeah.
they have like little loops around them.
Oh, right there, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out like how to do that.
One way one way you could do it is you could just go, and I'm going to make a, this is a good question actually, so I can show you something that I haven't showed you yet. It's pretty simple. So I'm going to make this a line, swap it, and get rid of the fill. Maybe make it a little thicker so we can see it. And then, you know, I'm going to make it a little bigger. Ah, it's so annoying. There it goes. Let's go a little thinner. So I want to pull it down here and maybe turn it a little bit. You know, if I want to get, I'm going to lock this off so it stops doing that. Turn it a little more. Now I also might come in here if I want and go, it's going to bend a little more as it goes down. But I'll ignore that for the most part. Then this one's going to start to turn this way. Okay, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you remember this. Under object is where our path tools are. I'm going to go to path tools and go, I'm going to unlock everything. Because this is a line right now, right?
Yeah.
But I won't be able to use it as a shape until I go path, outline, stroke. So what that's going to do is stop it being a live line and it just turns it into a shape. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it just takes a line, and now I couldn't adjust it as a line anymore because it's just a shape just like this horn is.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So now what I'm going to do is, so let's look at this. I want to talk about this anyway, so this is good. And I forgot about it, so it's good you brought it up. Remember we did let's take, hang on, just trying to find an image. Let's use this one. Okay, now obviously this could be a vector shape, but I'm just going to use a Peter DeSeb drawing. Oops. So holding shift, I'm going to resize this. So do you remember the clipping mask thing, where as long as this shape is on top, and I select both, I can go object, clipping mask, make. And it does that. You remember that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Another thing, by the way, if I double click inside of it, it'll let me just edit inside.
That's cool.
Then I can just double click out here and I'm back to normal. Okay. So because if I don't do that, if I try and edit inside, it's just going to move the whole thing as a unit. All right. So let's go. What if I go? So I can go here, object, release. Now I release the clipping mask. What if I want to have, I'm just going to give these an outline so I can see them. And let's give them a different color. Boy, that really disappears in there. Hang on. There we go. What if I want these three things to be a clipping mask? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's try it. Clipping mask, make. It's just going to pick probably the last one. It is the last one I made, because the last one you make is the one on the very top, and the top needs to be what's on top of the object that you're going to clip. Does that make sense? So in other words, it doesn't work to use 3,
right,
or 4 or whatever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 1, I'm going to select all 3 of these, and then I'm going to go up here to object. Right below clipping mask is compound path. Okay, it works just like clipping mask. I hit make here. I've got all 3 selected, not the image, just the shapes, and I go make. And what that just did is it combined those shapes together like this. Okay. So, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is grab all of these now, because they're all separate shapes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to go object, compound path, make. And I'll just pull this over here to make it easy. And then I'm going to go back to my Pathfinder and go to my intersection, because I want that intersection right there. Ink. And there they are. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now,
That's
another
what
thing I could do. Now, I don't have it lined up exactly. There you go. It's a little better. There it is.
Nice.
Pretty simple.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't figure that out.
Well, you didn't know
it.
It
Makes sense.
Yeah, you just didn't know it. If you knew it, you'd know how to do it.
Yeah.
But when you want to use a bunch of shapes as sort of one shape,
mm-hmm.
whether it be for a mask or to be able to, because otherwise you'd have to go and clip each one of these individually, which you don't want to do.
Right.
So all you're doing when you do the compound paths, you're just telling it like this is all one shape, treat it all as one shape, apply all the filters or whatever we're doing, cut Pathfinder stuff to one shape, and it just makes it easier.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because like people, if they don't know that, they come in here and they start doing, this is what I did when I first was like learning Illustrators. I'd come in here and go, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And by the way, you never get this exactly right, really. Oops. Anyway, and I just come in here and I'd try and draw it, and it would take forever and it wouldn't look that good. So no problems with a Pathfinder?
No, it took a little while to get used to, but I think I got it.
But you're starting to get used to it, right?
Yeah. It's a cool way of working. It's different.
I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know. To me, it's just fun.
Mm-hmm.
And you sort of automatically get a different result. It's just like working in some medium that just has a certain property about it.
Right.
And I don't know, it's just fun. And it's fun that it's like a different, the other thing I think is good about Illustrator, which sounds weird, but I think this really starts to logic your brain into understanding painting. Because to be honest, painting, you're sort of, you're starting off with these big silhouettes and then you work into the silhouette, right?
Right. Yeah.
or big shapes or whatever. And in here, you're doing that really literally with like pure shape.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then you got to,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. All this stuff translates over back and forth, just like stuff from there will translate into here and so on back and forth. But there's something about it. And especially like a lot of times if I'm going to like those, I do posters all the time for my field trips for my class to invite everybody to go. It's fun to use Illustrator for that. Cause if I use Illustrator for that I know when I stick that thing up in the hallway or put it online or whatever, because I usually print them out big, boom, it's going to read like crazy. You know what I mean? I mean, Illustrator is a really bold graphic thing. Right. Now, again, you can use it like those people who are doing all that photoreal stuff. That doesn't make any sense to me. But I mean, that's fine. I mean, they can do that. It makes sense to me if a car like a car company goes, like I could see it if you go, because I've seen there's some on there that are just their cars, they're photorealistic cars and they look really perfect. Where you can go in and you can go make that car look absolutely perfect. And then you have that asset. And then if you give it to the company, they go, it's resolution independent. I can blow it up, put it on a billboard. I can blow it up, put it on the side of a building. I can shrink it down, put it online. I can, on and on and on. I can pull the background element and make a new scene over here with my in-house department. Like maybe they hire an outside illustrator that's you or something. Then when they pull it into their design department, or they might even have you do this where they go, it's just like, remember I was showing you guys style guides? Yeah. Like I've done this before and sometimes they don't even ask me because it just doesn't take that much time, but I'll just go, I'll pull out the background. I'll give them that. I'll pull out like all the trees and then I'll separate all the elements and I'll stick them on a page. And then like, here's the characters and I'll just separate everything. Cause it takes me like at the most a half an hour. And now they sort of have a style guide asset book, and I'll even, when I talk to them, I'll go, I wouldn't use that with that, but like that would work good with this. You know what I mean? And then they'll take it and they'll screw it all up and they'll use it all wrong. And there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah. And by the way, suggest it, don't do it. You know what I mean? Sometimes I just get carried away and I like doing it because I have all this stuff and it's kind of fun to organize it or, break it apart or whatever. Don't usually ever do anything unless they're asking me to do it, but I might suggest it. I might go, you want me to turn this into basically a style guide? I can tear everything apart and you'll have all these assets that all match the illustration. So you can roll it out across whatever you want to roll it out across. Does that make sense? Yeah. Or it could even be that they give it to somebody, and that could be you too, because you should learn. I think everybody should learn After Effects and Premiere. You might go, hey, why don't it? Because this stuff is great for After Effects. You might go, let me take it once, I can take this into After Effects and do very limited animation on it. You know what I mean? Or I could have the sky come in and the sun swims up and the boat's rocking on the water and just take the illustration and animate it a little bit. You know what I mean? And that's something they could use across social media and even potentially television or whatever, broadcast media, right? Somebody I know, it was actually an intern of mine, and then I hired her as a designer, but there was a commercial a long time ago, and it was for, I think it was for Walmart, but anyway, it was like back to school or something. So it was all these like elements where it was like a chalkboard go into screen, then you see a hand, but the hand was, holding chalk, but it was like static. It would go back to school, right? That goes off. Whoop, kids pop up. They're all laughing. Whoop, they go down, blah, 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 right? Right. And for some reason, I was mentioning that commercial and I go, look at that person, man. I go, they've got After Effects down. Like we've got Illustrator and Photoshop and all this stuff down. They probably whipped that stuff out. And it was weird because it turned out that the girl who worked for me, she goes, that's my cousin. And I go, really? And I go, how long did it take him to do that? And she goes, like nothing. You know what I mean? She goes, that took him nothing to do that. And he probably got paid pretty good because it was on television. You know what I mean? So it's probably, and then he's probably getting a residual for it every time it runs. And it ran like crazy. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like think about that stuff. The world of illustration and design and all that stuff is, I know I probably say this all the time, but I think it's really important. Really broad. Okay. And, go in and play around, here's the place to do it because it's not costing you a fortune to go take an After Effects class. And you might come out of After Effects and go, I hate that. It sucks. Well, you didn't take it at wherever where it's costing you a lot of money. You know what I mean? And I doubt if you're going to take a class like that and go, I hate that. You're probably going to go, there's a lot of uses for this. Hey, I could go to the medical industry and I can do this, and that's how I always think. And then I go, I can go here and pitch this, or I can do a little reel and show them how I can help them do that. I look for stuff where I can go, you guys should be doing this. You know what I mean? And potentially, I mean, I was usually working in house, but I was always thinking like that, or I'd even do it in house. Like, why aren't we doing this? You know what I mean? Okay. Any questions?
No, I think that was it.
Shag stuff's cool, right?
Yeah.
And he's another good example, by the way. He just started doing these. I saw he had a show at La Luz de Jesus like a long time ago, before he was like really big. And I remember I looked at his, they had his paintings up in there. And I go, I should buy that one. That's cool, man. And I wish I bought it now because it's probably gone up like 15 times. But I mean, that's not the reason I buy art. But and then flash forward a couple years, he's got an empire built out of that.
Yeah.
Got 2 shops in Vegas, or not Vegas, Palm Springs, which totally makes sense for him because everything he does is like mid-century modern looking. And then I started seeing him on checks. When you get your checks and you can get an image on it.
Yeah.
I don't know, just all kinds of stuff, coffee mugs. Then he started doing stuff for Disneyland, I think for like the Tiki Room, and on and on and on. And he just built an empire out of it. Now he's his own entity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
it's really well designed.
It's what?
It's really well designed.
Oh, it's really well designed.
It's simple, but it just reads so clearly.
Oh, yeah. And it's also cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he is using vector now. And it makes me wonder if he's not, because the way the hands are reflect. Now, sometimes I'll do that with paper, or like if I have something that's going to mirror, I'll just fold the paper in half and I'll just draw that other hand on the other side, trace it, and then, right? He could be doing that. But I just think there'd be some point where he would go, I'm still going to make these paintings, because the paintings I think sell for quite a bit. Well, they probably do sell for quite a bit. But maybe the other side of him that does all the merchandising has like an assistant or something on there that vectors this stuff for him.
Right.
Or maybe he takes a drawing once in a while and goes, hey, vector this. Because it's going to be a lot easier to do merchandise and all that kind of stuff. Because there's a lot of coffee mugs and posters and all that kind of stuff. I don't know, though. It'd be interesting to find out how exactly his whole little empire works. Like if he has one part of it's like, yeah, I do these paintings, and another part of it's more of the practical commercial thing, and it's like, hey, vector that so I can send to the fat or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, there's Josh, there's Emily's, Kayla. Kayla, where are you? There you are. What happened here? I'm missing a PNG.
Oh, I guess it was the image.
No, it's here.
Is it?
Yeah, that's weird. Now, here's the thing it could do. I don't think you did, though. Or maybe. If you change the name of the file or anything like that, it won't find it. Okay? Because now it's changed it. Or if you move it from wherever you had it to somewhere else, it's not going to find it. It's sitting right here in the folder. So to be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure why it's doing that. Now you should be able to go, hang on. Oh, there it is.
Oh, okay.
Because
I haven't changed what I've been doing, so I don't know why.
No, because I was looking at the name of it and I thought maybe it changed the name, but apparently not. Okay. What do you think? This looks great.
Thanks. I think I already told you through the messaging, but I'm having trouble with the intersect tool for whatever reason. If you could go over and explain that again,
Sure.
That'd be nice.
Oh, did you send me the one about the collar?
Yeah, I couldn't figure out what was the problem, and I went back and did the mistake that you made and did the same thing, and I still couldn't do it. Still gave me that same message.
Okay, hang on. Okay, this is listing this whole thing as a, do I have the Illustrator? What's going on here?
That's the
Weird.
JPEG.
So, okay, so this is the one where you can't see it. So I'm going to say, oh, because see, you did change the name of the file. That's why.
Oh, oops.
Because the original name of the file was Conan PNG. So I'm going to go replace. Go to the folder. Work, Kayla. And then just pick this one
Mhm.
and go replace. And there it is. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, and here's the active one. Okay, so here's what I think you were doing. You had this, and you were probably using the lapels as a mask, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the problem. These are two shapes.
Okay.
And even if I converted this, like I said, to a
Compound?
compound path, it's still not going to work. It's just going to be two shapes. It's just not going to work.
Okay.
So what you got to do is, so let's take this and pretend that we got this. And that's our shape that we wanted. What you're going to have to do, put that behind it. And I want to lock this off. I would have to make a new shape. And then just keep it under this so you can't see it.
Okay.
And then I'm just going to grab this and this. And I could do the intersect. So let's go Pathfinder intersect. Make sure it's the right color. And then just send it to the back.
Then you were grabbing, I'm sorry, I couldn't see the color because they're the same color. Which ones were you grabbing? Were you grabbing the lapels or the shape that you made?
I didn't do anything with the lapel. All I used the lapels for was just to stay behind it.
Okay.
Because the only part that's exposed. So let's do it this way. Here's my shape. Let's make it green or something. There's my new shape, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm going to go, I'll just put the whole thing behind the lapels. Now you see it?
Mm-hmm.
So the only shape I made was this.
Okay.
And then I just take that, oops. And I go back. So now I want to get this intersection. So now I go to my Pathfinder. I pick that intersection. I want to keep that little thing right there. And it just cut out all the rest of it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I think so. It's going to take me some time to figure
Just
it out.
remember, like when you're doing an intersection shape, what we're looking for is this right here, correct?
Yeah.
Where they intersect. So if I go here to the intersect thing, it just gives me that. And that's what I just did with the lapel thing. I just made a new shape because this right here, like if I take this lapel thing, and I go select all of it and I go intersection,
Mm-hmm.
it's basically saying like there's two shapes here. What do you want me to do?
Mm-hmm.
So let's see what happens if we go compound path. I don't even know what'll happen. So it went back because that was the intersecting shape was the actual lapel shape. Does that make sense?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So I could use this intersect shape, but I'd first have to make it into a compound path.
Okay.
I learned Illustrator. I don't know if I told you this. I learned Illustrator when I got my first toy job.
Mm-hmm.
Did I ever tell you this?
I don't think so.
I went and so I worked at Imagineering for a while and a little bit, and then I went over and talked to this toy company, And I have very strong drawing skills and all that kind of stuff and design skills and all that, but I didn't have any computer skills at all. Okay. Because I just sort of put that on the back burner, which you can't do anymore. And they go, so I left the interview and they called me in my car like 10 minutes later and they go, we want to hire you. Right. And I go, I don't have digital skills. I got to get that together. And they go, don't worry, we'll train you on that. Their training was my first week. I came in Monday. My first week, they go, we got a presentation on Friday. I'm like, okay. And I start whipping out sketches and marker. And they go, no marker, digital. And I'm like, oh, so this is the training program. It's just throw me in the deep end, which actually was good. It made me learn really fast.
Mhm.
But my boss, I remember this very distinctly. Like he'd go, you need to turn that in compound shape. And when he said compound shape to me, that meant math.
Mhm.
To me, and it just totally shut my brain down. I went, compound shape, what the hell does that mean? You know what I mean? And nobody had time to really spend that much time with me going, here's what a compound shape is. It was just like, just do it, it's compound shape, and it was just like kind of a mess, but that's how I learned it. Okay. Not, made me learn it in about 2 or 3 months, like really fast. But I'm sure a lot of what I did was a train wreck. Hands are really good. This looks great too, man.
Thanks.
Do you have any other questions?
No, I think that was the main one.
Nice and clean, man. Makes me happy.
Makes me happy too.
That's right. Where's Ray?
Yeah, right here.
Nice and clean. Man, you guys got this stuff really clean. Any problems?
No, yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Great. So no problems with the Pathfinder, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Great. Looks great. Raphael, where are you at?
Right here.
What do you think?
Pretty good. I just had a little bit of trouble with Pathfinder.
Just getting used to it?
Yeah, if you zoom in on the bow tie, there's still a little bit of purple, so I don't know what I did wrong there.
Let me look at it. That looks like, okay, it looks like it's connected. It looks like when you cut it, there was some shape there that cut that shape.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So all you got to do, you should be able to do. So if you look at it, look, it's connected to this whole shape. You see that? Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see it.
Okay. So you should be able to come in here with your white arrow tool. Why? Because it's a direct selection tool and it makes only a selection on what you use it for, right? So I'm going to see if I can just select that, and I can, and just delete it.
Oh, okay.
Because if I select it with a black arrow tool, it's going to select all of it, right?
Yeah.
But that's no big deal. Is that
And
the only
also-
problem you had with it?
No, yeah, that was it. And then mirroring. How do we get a copy? Because when I would try mirroring it, it would take the original one.
Here's how. You got to remember this. So this is in a bunch of programs, not just this one.
Yeah.
If you look right here, so I got my arrow over it, and I want to hold Option. See how the arrow doubled?
Oh, okay.
See that? That's telling me it's going to make a copy, right? You guys all got the hands like really good. So now I'm going to go over here and go Reflect tool, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to click wherever I want my anchor point, and then watch Option. See how it made 2? Hold Shift and it'll constrain it, and there it is.
Okay. Cool. Cool.
So it's
cool.
just Option drag.
Okay. Option drag.
By the way, another little trick. Well, it's not a trick. And it's probably up here. I always forget where it is. Yeah, I'll find it. It corresponds up here. But if I click and drag this thing like that and let go of it and don't touch it. Now, if I go Command D, it'll repeat it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so watch. Now I can make a quick pattern. So all you got to remember is Command D for duplicate.
Okay.
Also, if you do this, so if I go wherever I drag it to, that's where it's going to repeat. Right?
Yeah.
So it should be, hang on. I don't remember where it is anymore because I don't go up here very often. Object, maybe it's up here. Well, I don't even know where this is anymore. I like to show you guys where it is up here, but there's a command up here somewhere for duplicate. Hang on. I swear to God, in Adobe, their help thing is like the worst thing in the world. Anyway, it's Command D for duplicate. I'll find it and then I'll tell you guys where it is. It's weird. It's going to drive me crazy now. Anyway, I'll find it. Okay, that's the only question you had?
Yeah.
Good. That's good. Get rid of this. Who's this? This is Kayla's. Okay, this is a good example. Okay, what is this thing? You there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
What is this thing?
It's from Adventure Time. It's a cartoon.
Oh, okay. All right, so you used the Pathfinder like on this shadow value and things like that?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Have you used Illustrator before?
Nope.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
The only problem I had with like behind the arms, because like they're the same color, just trying to find a line to like differentiate from the body without making it like look like I was outlining it.
Oh, okay. I like that you didn't outline it. I mean, that was kind of the point of this.
Yeah.
But what you see a lot with Illustrator, man, I see it all the time because when I first started teaching this class, I like to do research and stuff. And, and I always look up and go, well, there might be some teachers teaching something I haven't thought of. And, I'm just looking for ideas and stuff. But one of the things I saw was the thing that drives me crazy about when people learn Illustrator. And they learn that they have to make closed shapes and then they put line around it. You guys know what I'm talking about, right?
Mhm.
It just looks super amateurish. You know what I mean? And you're super limited in what you can do that way because you have to close every shape. And it just kind of tends to look like those old programs, like kid programs where they used to make, draw and paint in. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? It's
Yeah.
really cheesy looking. And that's usually the way people use Illustrator. And I think it's because they just don't know any better. So learning the shape language and also the line being independent of the shape and the fill means that you have endless variation you can do. Does that make sense? Like I've had people take this class who've taken some other Illustrator class a long time ago, or whatever, and they keep thinking they have to work that way. And I can't stand that because it just always tends to look really amateurish. Okay. Does that make sense? Josh?
Do you have a sample of that? Because I don't
Yeah,
know what you're
I
referring
could
to.
probably find one. Hang on.
Yeah.
Of course, now I can't find them. I see them all the time. I usually can find them pretty easy if I just look up another class. I'll find some for you guys and I'll put them up and I'll link it. Is that good? Yeah. You'll, as soon as you see it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. This looks great. Yeah. You there?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I have a lot of background noise, so I'm trying to keep my mic muted.
By the way, sticker companies love vector. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. That's the only question you had, or any questions?
No, that was it.
Okay, great. It looks great. Now, what I wanted to talk about, I just got a couple of things. Somebody, by the way, who was it asked me about the gradient thing? Was it last week?
That was me.
Okay, so let's look at that. Let's look at a couple things here. One is, this is a fairly, why will this not come forward? One of them is a fairly new tool that's really helpful. Okay, so if I have a shape, you didn't used to be able to do this. So here's my shape. I'm going to give it a fill. Right? Now I got to find where I have it. Sorry, I haven't organized my tools. I have to find it. Ah. Here it is. Puppet warp tool. You see that? It looks like a little thumbtack. So it gives me this. And I'm going to put another one here. And let's say another one here. And what can happen here now is I can grab this and I can bend it around these points. It's got 2 points up here. That's why it's doing weird stuff. So let's try this again. And I can bend this around. And then once I click it, or once I click off of it like that, it just becomes another, it just becomes back to a regular shape. Does that make sense? It's really handy because sometimes you'll just be doing a simple figure and you go, I just want to bend that arm up a little bit, and you used to have to redraw it. Now you can kind of mold it a little bit. Does that make sense? And just wherever I drop a pin, it'll rotate around that pin. Probably have to put another one here if I want to do that. Then I should be able to go click and then go, if I want to adjust it again, I get my handlebars and I can adjust it again. So if I want to pull this out and balance it a little bit. Does that make sense? Really simple tool. And just remember, it's that little thumbtack. Yeah, and all you're doing is going dink, dink to all your pivot points. Yeah? What are you smiling about, Josh?
I'm using it right now. It's pretty fun.
Who are you using it?
Yeah, it's cool.
It's all fun.
So to remove a point, you just delete, right?
I don't even know if I have deleted a point. Well, once you let go of it, yeah. I don't know. I don't think I've tried to delete one. Let's see.
Yeah, I just pressed delete and it worked.
It went away?
Mhm.
Yeah. What do these do? Oh, they just give you an automatic thing there. It's kind of interesting. It's also kind of cool. You know what I would use this for? Like one of the things I would use it for is I might use it if I was building, oops. Let's see. If maybe in the background, I like the way it kind of randomly pulls these things out a little bit. And I might use that just as a starting point. To start building a tree. You know what I mean? And the reason being is it'll give me a little bit of randomness, and then I can come in after the randomness and sort of adjust it.
Would you combine those shapes, or would you just leave them?
It depends. It depends. And so a lot of times what I'll do is, and then I'd probably do this, get my, whatever you call it, my rotate or reflect tool, option, drag. And maybe take this one and pull it up a little bit. So now it feels a little bit like a different branch, right? If I would, what I usually do is if I am gonna do that, I'll pull one over here and save it.
Oh, okay.
Onto my pasteboard, and then yeah, I could come in here and go, you know, and then I might go. Hang on a sec again. I might do something. You know, do a really stylized tree like remember that book I was showing you with a bear in it?
Yeah.
Where he did all those really stylized trees and all that stuff. And then I could go, I don't want to use this color. I don't like this color either. I'm gonna make it, and I'm gonna make it a little paler. I don't know why. A little lighter. A little more saturated. Then this could become whatever color it becomes. You know, and then I could put some more branches in here and a little more design elements. I could even come down here and make this and start to shape the tree out into another shape. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing I like about that tool for something like this is that I can get a little bit of randomness. So I'm not being so rigid. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like when I'm drawing trees in with a pencil or whatever, I tend to hold the pencil way back here, like way back here, and I'll push the pencil up this way. Why? Gets a little more organic line and it's a little more random. So I'm not, you know, if you start drawing trees like this where you're over controlled with it, a lot of times they look stiff and over controlled. They don't look organic. So this tool will give me, so I'm always looking for tools that can give me a little bit of randomness. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm always looking for that. And I have, hang on, let me see if I have this. Oh, here it is. Yeah, like I did these for Frank because he wants to animate them. I might have said that. But you know, he doesn't like this. Oops. Like this tree right here, that's exactly like that. Does that make sense? And then you're using your other tools, like this goes, hang on. This goes and fades at the bottom. See how it fades out? Which just gives it a nice sense of sort of, you know, atmosphere, right? And if you look at this guy, because now we're starting to get into shape building. I mean, there ain't much to this guy, but it's a great design. And then see how we repeated the leg here? Yeah. Repeated this arm, just changed the hand, made the s'mores graphic, blah, blah, blah. Lots of personality and very little, you know, it's very, that Chip Waz guy who did this book, he's super, a really good designer. You know what I mean? He gets a lot of miles out of very simple design. And then look, we're adjusting the opacity as this little smoke thing goes up. It gets less opaque right there. Just gives it a little more interest, right? I mean, these are all his design decisions. I just copied it so Frank could animate it. Very little information there. And then look, he did this. I thought these are like nice little, the collar fades off right here. See that? The fingers fade off down here. It just sort of softens those things up, right? Because sometimes you want to soften them up and you're working in a vector program, right? Where everything's a little hard edge. So you got to think a nice design. That's another thing I like about Illustrator is I have to think really designy. You know what I mean? It forces me to think like a designer. I can't just go in and draw like I normally draw. And so on and so. And then I love this, like this shape in here is just an abstract gradient, right? And so on and so forth. And then this back here is just a silhouette, all this stuff. It's one of the first children's books I saw that was digital that I really like. I don't usually like digital children's books. I'm starting to get over that now because I'm starting to see some really good ones. Okay. Now, what else I want to go over? Oh, this one. Here. Okay, so let's make a sort of organic. Okay, and I'm going to go, you remember our gradient tool, right? Yeah? Okay, so in your gradient tool, what we used, that's weird. Why do you get, oh, I see. I'm going to go, change this to, and I'm going to adjust it a little bit. Okay, so we've done this where we do a gradient, sort of just a gradient, right? Now in this panel, if you look, this is what we're using here, and then there's this radial one. So that just means that if I click my tool here, it's radiating out from the center as opposed to doing a smooth linear roll over the whole thing, right? But if I go to the next one right here, and it says freeform gradient, okay? So now what it did is, let's change this. It's still, I can double click these points, but I can come in here now. Let's put it on points. Okay, so look, I've got this. If you look at my little button here, I've got it on points. Do you guys see that? So I can do the same thing. I can option, or I can just click somewhere, add another color in here. And also, see that? I can pull this out or in how much spread I want on that gradient, okay? So I could, in theory, I can come in here. I don't want all these. And I could really start to shape this out in an interesting way. Does that make sense? Okay, now the next thing, so here's my point right here. I don't want that much. Now, right here, and you still have the opacity thing and all, and the spread thing. So the opacity thing is the same thing as before, where we could take it down to 0, whatever, okay? But over here, we have this one called lines. So now let's go. It will automatically start following that line. See what I mean? Or I can come in here and let's click another one. And I can start curving that around and changing these. And I could really start building a pretty complex form with some, you know, thought to what I'm trying to convey. Does that make sense? Much more control, obviously, in a very sort of organic way, right? Now, there's another tool in here we'll get into in a little bit that used to be used anytime you want to do something like this, you use that tool. That tool was kind of a pain in the ass. Okay, I'm going to show you how to use it, but it's like I've used it once, and the only reason I used it was because it was for a packaging job, and it was Godiva, and we were doing a product. It's hard to explain all this, but the licensing was we were doing a Godiva product that Godiva doesn't make. Okay. So Godiva has a packaging line. You know, every big company like this does. They go, you know, they have a statement in their packaging. You'll see it. It usually, like at Starbucks, it changes, I think, every season, where all of a sudden you come in the store and all the packaging's changed, right? But it all lives together. So anyway, we were doing this product, and they had a very specific illustration style for all their packaging, you know, whatever it was. And it was the gradient mesh tool. Okay. And so we got the formula passed by them and all that stuff. And then I came to them and I go, hey, I'm just going to create an illustration that looks just like your illustrations and make it look like it's just part of your line, right? Which I thought for sure they'd say no to, but they go, yeah, whatever. And that's why I used it. Okay. It's not one, and there's certain things that I would use it for if I needed to, but I just used it because they had used it and I kind of had to. The only way I could make it look like what they were doing was to use the same tools. Does that make sense? But now I might have done it with this because this didn't exist then. Does that make sense? So this is another one of those things. Hang on. Why am I a slip and sliding alien or a penguin? What am I missing? Is everybody in on this joke and I'm not? Oh, because I was talking about the ice. That's what it was. Okay. Anyway, does that make sense? Josh? Let's do something here too. I'm going to go to workspace, new workspace, Mike. Let's see. Let's say I'm getting messy. Let's make sure it works. Yeah. Okay, so I just set my workspace. You just saw what I did. I just went workspace, new workspace, and said and named it. Okay. Now, why that's handy is like, wait, figure out exactly how you like your workspace, because sometimes you'll start pulling things out of here. And I'm sure you guys have all done this. And you'll start ending up with this sloppy. Hang on. Workspace. You guys have all done this where you start getting your panels all in your way, right? Well, if I start getting messy, I can come up here and go workspace, reset mic, and it puts all my tools back where they belong and cleans up my workspace. Okay. Really handy so you don't get sloppy. You want it like as much as possible. And once in a while, you'll pull a panel out because, you want to really get in there and tweak something because all your tools are in those palettes. And it'll just clean your workspace up instantly. And it's really helpful so you're not constantly moving. I worked my whole career not knowing that. Okay. So I was always had millions of crap open and I was moving them around and cursing at the screen and all that when all I had to do was do that. Okay. And I'm probably going to let you guys out of here early today, but what I'm going to expect you to do is a couple of things is figure out what you're going to do for this project and probably start thinking about, I want to approve it first. So actually, but you're going to have to start gathering some assets probably. Okay. Or if you have really good drawing ability, I mean, you could draw stuff, but I want to approve it first. Okay. Let me make sure I'm hitting my notes. Hang on. Okay, those are only 3 tools I wanted to go over today. So, but we've gone over a little more. We went over the compound path, right? Yeah. Puppet warp tool, freeform gradient tool is the one we just looked at, and you really need to play with that. Freeform gradient tool, puppet warp tool. I was going to show you this. I don't want to show you this other one yet. It's starting to put a lot of stuff in there. What I'm going to want on Wednesday. Oh, by the way, you guys know that we're off on Monday, right? Wow, nobody knows that, huh?
I forgot.
This whole weekend is a 4-day weekend. Because I checked the calendar and it's blocked from Friday to Monday. It's like President's Day or something. It's really weird to me. Every term we start, we just get started in the term and there's some kind of day off. You know what I mean? This class is not that bad because it's twice a week, so it's not too bad. But my classes that are 1 day a week, it's kind of it's a long stretch. But anyway, let me get, I just want to double check this real quick. Okay, so I want to go through okay, so here's what I want to do. Let's go over this real quick. You can do this on paper, or you can do, and by the way, a lot of people don't know this. Like with Illustrator, because hardly anybody does this for some reason. I can go here to my paintbrush. Let me see if I can find a decent brush. Oops. Hang on. I just got to find the name of this. Oh, I know what it is. I spelling artistic right? Here it is. I think. Just trying to find a decent brush. If you have a stylus, and let's I can come in here. And I can just freehand in here the same way I could in Photoshop or anything. If I get a better brush, a crappy brush. Let's try this one. That's better. So you can come in here and you can draw freehand just like you would in like a Photoshop or something, right? It's going to give you later on, like some of that stuff we looked at, like that Taylor guy, what Ken Taylor, I think is his name, does all that cool like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea stuff. He's freehanding a lot of that like this. Does that make sense? And there's a person too, by the way. I forgot his name. And I just saw this at the store when I was buying wine. Yeah. So let's open up 2 of these. Why is this not opening away? Oh, here it is. I'm pretty sure he's doing that all freehand in Illustrator, right? I mean, this thing jumped off the wine shelf, like right in your face. Does that make sense? I've been trying to find out the guy. I think I have found him, but that's cool, man. I mean, that is really cool. So it's probably a combination of things. Like that big overall shape, you know, you can just put in as a silhouette, lock it off in a layer and start doing the stuff he's doing on top of it, all this stuff, like fairly freehand. And then I was so, and what's weird is it's hard to find the name of this guy, which is really weird because normally whoever did this would, you know, they throw it on their Instagram or whatever and go, hey, here's this latest thing I did. I'm going to think it's written into his contract that he can't talk about it or something. I'm serious. And it might be that the company's sort of like, we don't want anybody, because we know this is going to make a big impact and we don't want somebody to go after him now and try and get him to do it for the, I don't know, but it's really weird to not be able to find the name of this illustrator. Right. And on like some Reddit forum, I found somebody goes, I think it's this guy. And then when I looked up his stuff, I go, because he does a lot of these poses of like different things where they're in that pose. I think it is him. Right. I forgot his name. Like he's on my Instagram now. But really good use of this. Yeah. And this freehand stuff. And the other guy's that other guy we talked about, who also does freehand stuff like this. And the reason I'm pointing this out is most people just don't ever think about doing this in Illustrator. Does that make sense? And plus, I'm going to show you how to make brushes and all that kind of stuff like you do in Photoshop, okay? But anyway, this stuff that he does is sort of along that vein too, where he hand draws a lot of it. Oh, and this is the other guy I want to show you guys. Bunch of super Illustrator stuff. Where's his old stuff? So this guy, trying to find, there you go. He started doing, not exactly sure how this started. He works for consumer products, Disney consumer products. So you can see all this stuff, all this vector stuff he does, right? Trying to find his older ones. Very simple, cool vector stuff. So what I think happened with him, he was working at, or he still does, consumer products. And he did, I'm trying to find the ones that I want to reference here. Sort of this kind of thing, but he did these other ones. That's cool. God, I can't believe I got to go back this far. Maybe I can just find him here. Hang on. Yeah. Sort of this kind of stuff, right? This kind of stuff. This kind of stuff. He did a lot of Indiana Jones stuff. Did a lot of stuff for Wall-E when I was working on Wall-E. All this kind of stuff. Okay. So what I think happened with him is that the company recognized that, and then Pixar started going, well, we want to have you do a poster for whatever it was. I think Cars or something. And then they had him do, and then it just kind of picked up, it seems like. And then he was doing like, he did stuff before Cars, and then he did like multiple posters for Cars. And like they were all up over the studio, big giant, like 20-foot high ones. And they pull him in to do all this sort of special illustration stuff all the time. So he's kind of created a total niche for himself over there, right? So like Pixar now comes in and goes, hey, we're having a meeting in Paris. We want you at the meeting in Paris because we want you to do this, this, and this. So he's getting pulled into all this stuff that if he wasn't doing this, he wouldn't. He'd just be probably another package designer or whatever he does. I don't know what he does over there. Does that make sense? But they recognize that skill, and they have him do a lot of, also in the, like he went over to Pixar one time, and I think they were doing some presentation at Pixar when Incredibles came out. And you know, they always show whoever, Lasseter and the big shots are all standing there addressing the Pixar people, right? Behind them on the stage was a big giant vector illustration he did for Incredibles, right? So they're using his stuff all over the place. They love his stuff. Okay, I don't blame him. His stuff's really cool. But he created a niche for himself because he had that ability. Does that make sense? And the nice thing about this is if you create a freehand drawing, did I lock it? Hang on, I think I locked it. No, I didn't. That's weird. Something funky is here, but I should be able to come in here and adjust my, it's weird. My lines. Oh, I bet I know what it is. Hang on. Oh, there it goes. There it is. The reason that just did that, by the way, you guys, is up here under view. It's right here. See where it says hide edges, Command H? See that? Where that'll screw you up is if you have something, and see how we have these handles that we're used to? If I accidentally hit Command H, they go away. Because what that's telling is to hide the edges. So if I go Command H again, I get them back. So if it ever disappears like that, That's why. Or like here, because I can come in here now after I throw it on a free hand line, and I could come in here and adjust it, which is obviously something you can't do with a, you know, real line, right? But what I'm going to want you to do. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. And you can do this on paper. I'm going to want to do a business flyer. Okay. Now let me explain that. This isn't a business flyer like you would find under your windshield wiper. Okay. It's not that. When I say business flyer in 2021, it means a whole bunch of things. It means it could be online. It means it could be in store. It means it could be a lifestyle banner. It means it could be a poster. It means it could be a bunch of stuff, right? It's just some way that, and when I say business flyer, it can be a business that lives inside of a movie. It can be a business you make up. It can be, I don't care. Does that make sense? So it's really broad. In other words, I'm just giving you very broad parameters. Again, this is a mechanics class. I don't really need to give you crazy specific parameters because it's an advertising class or something. It's not. So I want to leave it fairly open. Okay. Another thing you could do, and I've had people do this before, is you could pick a business that's like, sometimes it's kind of interesting to pick a business that's looks like a cool business. Like, hey, that's a cool idea for a business, or that's a cool business or whatever. But you go, their assets are terrible. Their advertising's terrible. There's, you know, it just, nothing is reflective of this business that's actually cool. And you could redesign that. One of the ones I've had people do is Zombie Donuts down the street from the campus. Because the idea is fun, but you go in there and you go, this ain't Zombie Donuts. You know what I mean? This is just a donut shop. Why, you know, you can't call it Zombie Donuts and make no effort. You know what I mean? You just can't do that. Call it Fullerton Donuts. Okay. So one of the things, like if I was Zombie Donuts, I'd have a mural on that wall. I think they've got an open wall. And I'd have a really nicely designed mural on that wall. Not some cheese ball. And I'd probably have it, illustrated be a great way to do it. I don't personally like murals that much unless they're more designy, if you know what I mean. Like they're usually murals are pretty crappy. Okay. Unless they're not. Like Kent Twitchell does amazing murals, and there's a couple other ones, but I usually like them to be designing. It could be, you know, it could be that. It could be Zombie Donuts. What's their online messaging? You know what I mean? All that kind of stuff, right? Somebody did one once that was I think it was a headstone, and then they put like a statue or something on top of the headstone. I think the statue was like a donut, and then there was a hand coming out of the grave, you know, like those zombie things, and it was reaching up towards a donut. And it was all at night. It was a cool idea. It was a cool solution. It could be, I mean, it could be anything, really, to be honest. Okay. It's just a vehicle to create an illustration. Okay. So what I'm going to want is really simply I'm not even going to give you you can go vertical or horizontal. Okay. And then I'm just going to want you to go, okay, I'm going to have this Frankenstein in the foreground. And back here, there's going to be a bunch of zombies walking towards here with their arms out, doing the zombie thing. And maybe I don't know, and then maybe Zombie Donuts, the store's back here or something, right? Maybe he's holding in the foreground, he's holding a big donut with this big Frankenstein hands. And that's one idea. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's all I need. I just want to be able to approve it. you know, back here, I just kind of make sure that I understand, like, oh, they got their hands out like the zombies always do. You know, just make it enough where I can understand it. I'd give it a concept too. Like I wouldn't just do this. I'd come up with some concept for it, like that person did, where the zombies reaching up for the donut, right? Out
So
of the-
it's just a poster, right? Where there's no like writing or typography that we.
I'd like to have some type on it.
Uptype. Okay.
For whatever the business is. And by the way, that's also up to you. Could have a tagline, could be the name of the business, could be the logo, could be. So I've had somebody redesign. It was some kind of eco coffee shop or something, right? And they showed me the because they told me about this coffee shop, and I go, that sounds cool. And they go, yeah, it's not. They go, if the product is cool. They go, the place has no. Because when I think of some place that's sort of eco-friendly, I think of them being a little more elevated. Does that make sense? I just think of that kind of business being more elevated. And boy, was it not elevated. It was really cheesy, horrible messaging or whatever you want to call it, right? So she redesigned it, did a really nice job on it, and did a, you know, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, you could think of it like a poster. I don't care. What else? But give it like a concept. Does that make sense? And then what you're going to need to do, and there's different ways to do this. Like if you're a graphic designer and you don't have drawing ability, don't worry about that right now. I'll show you how to get around that in here and there. And then if you do have drawing ability, and you're going to draw it, and then you're going to, you know, do a finished drawing. And hopefully you're starting to understand a little bit about how much you would need for the drawing, right? It's not going to be as crazy, you know, because it's probably going to be a little more graphic driven and that kind of thing. So it's going to be a little more design driven. Does that make sense? Again, well, it just depends. Like what we just saw with Chippewas, that bear stuff, that's very well designed, but very simple, very specific type of unique to him. Like whenever I see his stuff, I know it's him. Or, you know, those other two I just showed you, they're doing that freehand stuff. That's a whole different thing where it looks like they're inking everything. That's all up to you. Okay. And what we'll start doing is we'll start adding tools into this as we're working. Does that make sense? And then you guys are also going to ask questions that are going to help me introduce things into this, because you're going to start asking questions where you go, hey, I want to do this. And it'll be like, oh, that's a great tool for everybody to learn. Does that make sense? And then we can keep pushing. But the first thing I've got to get is I've got to get thumbnails so I can, so we can get going. Yeah. And then you guys, we're going to have Monday off. So Wednesday, we can look at these, get them approved, and then get to work on getting a final drawing. So when we come in Wednesday, we're working. We can start, you know, figuring it out. And also you got to figure out, like, do I want this to be an inked kind of thing? Do I want this to be a shape driven kind of thing? Do I want it to be a combination of both? Whatever it is. Does that make sense? Questions?
Not regarding the assignment. I think you skipped my homework assignment.
Oh, did I? What's the
Yeah.
name?
Victor?
That's weird.
Hey, Mike, real quick. How many thumbnails?
Give me 5.
5?
It's any business or just made up or real?
Whatever you want. I've had people do businesses within, this doesn't thrill me, but I'm not going to get that bent out of shape about it. They've done it where it's like, it's a business that lives inside of this video game, you know? And it's like, oh, great. You wouldn't want to actually not do something to do with a video game ever. But that's up to you. Okay. And then, you know, sometimes they I don't know, they just start doing, you know, again, try and challenge yourself, try and make something really cool. Especially, you know, if you're already, you know, or a little further along and you got drawing ability and all that kind of stuff, really put it to use, because we can keep building on this thing. So when you start getting it in there and you go, well, I want to try this with it, or I want to give it a little more whatever dimensionality or whatever it is. And I'm going to show you some really simple tools. I'll probably start showing you those on Wednesday. Oh, and another guy I want to show you. Anyway, let's look at this first. I want to show you this other guy too. These are great. What do you think?
Little issue with the Pathfinder, managed to figure it out in the end. I had the same issue Josh had regarding the dress. Because I literally did each of those one by one instead of the like.
Oh, this
Yeah.
the pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. There's a couple ways you could do this actually. So I could go, and I'm just gonna pretend this is your pattern. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I could do that. There's a couple ways I could do this. And then I'm going to give it a black line, get rid of the fill. Oops. And let's fatten it up a little bit. Then I'm going to go to my width tool, give it a little bit of variety. Obviously, I'm not being very designy here. So there's a couple things I could do. So one of them, so let's just pull this over here. Because this is the part you're talking about, right?
Yeah. I literally did it inch by inch in the dress rather than like out there.
Okay, so one thing I could do is I could put another, what is her dress is white, right? Yeah. So let's pull this on top. So one thing I could do is I could just go clipping mask and clip it,
Oh.
right? But see how it's clear? Because it used the white for the mask, right? So what I need to do is just make another shape. And I don't have to worry about lining it up or anything. I just have to make sure it covers the dress. Put that all the way in the back. And then the clipping shape will just clip it in there. And I'm using the dress shape for the clipping shape. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, the other way I could do it is, as usual, I would have this pulled over. And I always hold it with the shift so they line up this way. And then I could take this line and I could go, there's a couple ways I could do this. So let's do it this way. I could take this line and I could go path, outline, stroke, right? So now it's a stroke. And then I could just go back to Pathfinder. Let's pull this over here so you can see it. I have to pull this over because you guys see it puts everybody's face on one side. Pathfinder, I'm going to go to intersect. And now, I have that. I'd have to line it up. Yeah. Now, another way I could do it is I could go, I've already outlined this stroke. So it's an outline now. I select both. And right here, this one here that's divide. See that? What that's going to do is divide every shape. Now, if I take my white arrow tool and I could just eliminate everything I don't want. Then I know these things line up perfectly because I never moved them. Does that make sense? So you can either use intersect, clipping mask, or divide.
Hey.
Okay. And the clipping mask isn't in your Pathfinder thing. That's just a clipping mask, but it'll work.
I did have an issue when I was shaping the stuff from the reference. It wouldn't go in a straight line even with shift. It would just.
It's not shift. So if you're doing, are you talking about when you're doing something like this and you want to go to a straight line?
No, when I'm done shaping, I'm trying to move it away from the reference.
From the what?
When I'm trying to move it away from the reference, the shape I made.
Oh, like this? Like if I want to move this over here?
Yes.
Oh, if you're okay. Well, if you're holding shift, it's just going to constrain it this way, sideways.
Oh, I tried to do that. It wasn't doing it.
That's weird. It just went down. That should do that. I mean, if I pull it really hard here, it'll pull down. But for the most part, it constrains it. See, it jumped down here, but that's just because I pulled it. So I'm assuming either, is it moving, but it's not constraining?
It's not constraining. It's moving, but not constraining.
And you're holding shift.
Yeah.
Okay, are you like, let me try this. Oh no, that works. Yeah, I should do that. Because I don't even see if there'd be any reason to turn that off in preferences. I don't even know if they give you that option or not.
I'll check my preferences.
Yeah, because it should do that. I've never had it not do that. And if it doesn't, then let me know and we'll figure it out.
Okay.
What was the other thing?
No, that was it. Yeah.
It looks great though.
Oh, thank you.
I actually like it just on this clean white background. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I'd say is right here on this guy, the sort of a shadow. I would go here to the smooth tool and just smooth that little bump right there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because if you look right there, see how it's very boom, 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 right? And did you use this is your shape here?
Yes.
Because it's a different shape. Because this doesn't look squared like that.
I originally had an orange background, and I just confined it in that, and I just got rid of the orange background because it was too distracting.
One thing you can do, by the way, is you could go. I don't know if you did this, but and I could go make sure there's no line in here, and I can go right here to my unify or unite.
That is what I did, yeah.
Okay. Why is that not going all the way to the back?
It's probably where the layer is currently at. That's probably why it's not doing that.
What's it? Oh, okay. There it goes. Wherever that was. Then you had to get rid of the back part, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I got rid of that.
I might even, now that it's on white, it looks like you already did it. So if you want to knock back your transparency, you guys, you got to go to the transparency palette. Yeah, it looks great. Look at, they're all based on Betty Page. Can you see that? Okay. Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay, there's one more thing I kind of want to go over. Let me see if I can find it. That looked great, by the way.
Thank you.
Here. That's cool. They didn't put that in. Oh, maybe it's here. Hang on. Oh. Let me find this. Now, these aren't businesses or whatever, but I just think they're nice pieces. Probably don't go that simple. These were music posters, I think. That's cool. I like that. That's cool. These are all music posters. Let's see if I can find some more in here. Here's just some nice, I think these are music posters too. Oh, this is the business flyer thing. So I just like these. I just think that this was Jim Flora. These aren't, this isn't Vector, but you can see sort of the headwaters for Vector. These are nice. Very simple kind of thing. I wouldn't go that simple, but I still like it. That one's not bad. Think about your type choices. This is very simple silhouettes. I don't want to go that. This is a good level of finish, I would guess. That's a nice level finish for something like this, right? Look how I used the Pathfinder filter right there on both these faces, just like we just did, right? With the Pathfinder thing. See what else I can find. I don't know if there's anything else in here. Oh, there's not. Okay. And I'll put up some more. This guy here. I never remember how to spell his name. There's a lot of cool vector stuff. I'm trying to find some. All this kind of stuff. Look how he shapes out his shadows, right? Which I think is really cool. And then he'll do that's cool. Collegiate graphics. I'm trying to find some of the really nice work. Trying to find these. You know, this kind of thing, if you do, you know, if you're doing figure things, I mean, obviously that's one way to handle it. There's a million ways to handle it. I don't know what this is. Different takes on sort of character stuff, right? And by the way, if you have a really cool character drawing, build the business idea around it so you can vector it. If you got a great figure, right? Just reverse engineer it. Okay. Inktober, which I don't care about. Icon design. I'm trying to find these old ones you used to do. We'll get into this later. This sort of painterly look, because this is also Illustrator. Okay. So we'll get into that. But I mean, you know, we'll get into that when we do our whatever you call it, organic project. Here he's starting to introduce texture. You see that? So what I think I'll do on, I'll try and do it. Look at that. On look at that. Lots of texture. Probably on Wednesday, I might load up all my brushes so you guys can download them. I got halftone screens and all that stuff. That might help you out on this project a little bit because I got a gouache set and a bunch of different things. I'll show you how to load them. And then it's just using them. That's why I don't care about jumping to that. Later on, I'll show you how to make brushes and all that. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Strictly business cards or just advertisement in
No,
general?
no, no, not cards.
Oh.
It could be when I say flyer, the reason I say flyer is flyer to me can mean anything now. Okay. Flyer used to have a negative connotation. Like when I was a kid, it was like somebody handing you a flyer, usually for a cheap, shitty business or crappy business. It could be something that's under your windshield wiper for like a car wash. That's the negative connotation. To me, flyer now means, I mean, if I do something visually like this for a bit, like say it's Zombie Donuts, they're probably going to use that for, they could use it for a discount card they use. They could use that for their online social media stuff. They could use it for advertising. They could use it for poster design. They could use all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? And especially if it's vector, because I can keep rearranging it into different sizes and different formats, right? Which is also good because they keep coming back to me for that. You know what I mean? So I keep getting paid for it. Because what I do, if I was dealing with some, number one, I wouldn't deal with Zombie Donuts because I don't want to deal with them. They'll probably be a big, they're a mom and pop. They're not going to pay enough, blah, blah, blah. Now, if I was a student, I might do it just to get like a resume credit, or just because I go, that looks like a fun gig. Like that'd be fun to do. And I don't want to piss on anybody's parade here, but my brain always goes to when somebody will, so I get these inquiries all the time to do something and I see it and I go, oh, that looks kind of fun. And then I think about it and go, no, it isn't. Because there'll be like a whole bunch of people involved and they'll, you know, right? And I'll show you a little bit about texture and that kind of thing. So he's putting some texture on these things. Really nice design though. You guys can see that obviously, right? And you know another place to get inspiration? I'll put this guy up. Every time I talk about somebody, I'll try and always put him up. Look at this guy. It's fun. Interweaving stuff. You know, anyway, so on and so forth, right? Another place that's good to get inspiration, I think I've already said this, is Dribble. There's a guy, let me see if I can find this. I can't remember his name. Yeah, I want to show you this guy. Hang on. Who am I following? I know I'm following this person. Oh, here he is. Servin, that's his name. He does all this kind of stuff. He does a lot of car stuff. I mean, these things are cool. You know what I mean? Now he's starting to shape things out and get a little more gradient-y. But look, like with this line on the bus, look how it fades a little bit at the end right there. It's like all that little stuff, right? This actually isn't very hard to do, okay? Once you know the tools and all that stuff. I like this one. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll get this kind of started. And then like if you want to do stuff like this with this like shine on here and all that stuff, we'll start going into how to do that. And by the way, almost everything in this is stuff we've already talked about. Okay. He's just putting together really nicely. What else? And then one other one, another good place to get it. So if you go to Dribble, you just want to get inspiration. Oh, there's inspiration right there. They have a home page or whatever, and you can just go on there and it's just a lot of cool stuff. But if you do anything specific, for some reason, there's a ton of vector on here. Like I just typed in forest. I'll get all this just cool stuff, right? Which a lot of this starts with vector or is vector. Does that make sense? Like that. Yeah. And then one other place I think is good just in general is, I don't know if you guys know this site. And I'm not talking about because it's packaging, by the way. It just has a lot of really great graphics on it. So all this is just really cool packaging. But what's cool about it is you can go into it and go, or one of the things that's cool about it. Where's the, hang on. Right here. Down at the bottom, you can go categories. So like if you're doing something kid or whatever, you can go to toy, game packaging, and you'll just find a lot of really big, bold graphics in here. A lot of them are vector. And then I can go here and go to substrates and go, I want aluminum. So there's only one. I want bags. And I can go through here, and a lot of times I'll go through here just to get inspiration and not for anything that I'm even doing something like this, but it works out. Like this kind of stuff is cool. Like these big, bold graphics, you know what I mean? Does that make sense? And like I've been working on stuff, you know, that has nothing to do with packaging. Sometimes I'll be sitting here looking at this or something, and someone in the office and come over and go, "What are you looking at that for? What are you gonna swipe somebody's something or like?" I'm not looking at it for anything other than to get me all revved up to design something cool. You know what I mean? It's like I always say this. When I was a kid, you're driving to the beach, you go surfing and be blasting music all the way there to get all revved up to go surfing. It's the same thing. I look at other people's stuff to get all revved up. I don't look at it. I don't look at it apples to apples. I don't go, well, I'm going to look at this type of drawing because I'm going to do this kind of thing. I don't do that. I just look at stuff that gets me all excited. Does that make sense? And then I'll land on something like what we just looked at, that really bold color stuff. And maybe that'll just inspire me to be more ballsy with my color choices. You know what I mean? Just that kind of thing, right? Because when I see that kind of thing, I go, yeah, man, I want to do something, you know, depending on what it is. Something really bold and something really fun. Does that make sense? Okay, questions on this?
Nope,
Kayla?
I'm good.
Yeah? You got something in mind?
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to ask you about this week. Are you free for any of your office hours?
I can be free.
Okay.
Tomorrow's Tuesday. I'm going to try and rearrange. When do you want to do it? What do you need?
I wanted to talk about portfolio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I could probably do it Thursday. Yeah?
What time?
Like at 9?
No, I can't. I have class.
What time do you have class till?
It's 3 to 10 p.m. Unless you're talking about in the morning.
9 in the morning.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
You think I'd make it? You think I'd ask you to do it at 9 at night?
I don't know what your schedule is.
Well, I mean, we're all at home. You know what I mean?
I mean,
Okay, so Thursday at 9?
yeah, that's fine.
Oh, I got to send a link, huh? Oops. It's Kayla. Alcaraz? Is that how you say that?
Mm-hmm.
Looks like Alcatraz. I'm sure you've heard that your whole life, right?
Oh, yeah.
Or AZ. Okay. And we just said 9?
Yeah.
9 to 10. Okay. 9 a.m. Okay. You're on there.
Thank you.
Oh, wait a minute. Oops, I screwed up. Man, I put it on the 25th. Now it's there. It's on the 11th. And by the way, I have a stupid faculty meeting on Wednesday at 3, but I'll try and get everything together before I have to do that. They're not supposed to schedule it when I have a class. I don't know why they did. Okay, so everybody understands what we're doing, right? No more
Yes.
questions? We're all good? We're gonna make the greatest things ever. Everybody I
going to
just showed
try.
you, everybody I just showed you is gonna quit their job because our stuff's gonna be so good. Yeah. Everybody in our program will quit because there's no point in going on. Yeah. We'll have, what do we have in here? 10? We'll have 10 students in our program. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, make a great piece. All right. I'm going to help you do it. But really put some effort into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
3 thumbnails. I'm not saying you have to iterate or you have to come up with 3 unique ideas, but I probably would. But, you know, and you can iterate on them and whatever you want. Okay. When I say 3, that means you could do 30. I don't care. I'm not going to complain about doing more. Does that make sense? Okay, you guys. I will see you on Wednesday. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
That stuff looked great, by the way. Yeah? That stuff looked great.